One more, need to get in here. All righty. So it's 1:10. So I think I'll just start talking, and as people are flying in, we'll make that happen. Hello, my name is Mike Leffen, and I work here at Riverside County Office of Education with EdTech Services. So I'm one of the team members that helped put on this conference of the Google Camp. It's our 6th one, second one being virtual. So I hope you're enjoying it. We're happy with it, but we always want your feedback as well. So a little introduction from myself. I'm a former 4th grade teacher. In fact, I had the same kind of humor. So if somebody likes 4th grade humor, you can unmute and then laugh like this sporadically, like my 4th graders did. And so before that, I worked for the LA County Office of Education. And my niche really was working with the beginning technology people. Like we actually taught a 5-day in a row class on getting started, like what is a mouse and how do you use the mouse, and the basics of PowerPoint and like really the basic stuff. And so that's what I continue to do, so forth. And then we started transitioned into working with the juvenile halls. So the last 4 years of LACO, I worked in the juvenile halls, working with the students, going to different halls and working with them with video editing and podcasting and working with rapping and music, that kind of stuff. So I thought that was great because really, as you, they did the videos with their subject matter, and they all have a story to tell. And so it was important for me to kind of to help them with their stories. And now I work for RCOE, and I do a lot of the background stuff that you never see, like I do budgets and contracts and those kind of stuff. And I do professional development more so. But Heidi and Steve are really the ones who do a lot more. So this is starting with Google Sheets. So let me move my chat here. So Google Sheets, there we go. So back in the day, before all this technology stuff, we had these kind of books, and they were called ledgers. And you would actually write your profit and loss, right? Your income and your expenditures out in this ledger. And in fact, I've seen these. I joined an organization that's over 100 years old, and they crack out these books to show like the income from way back then. Or you do like a membership list and have like a database, but in these ledgers, and the year that they joined and all those kind of things, when they paid their dues and those kind of items like that. So like these ledgers have been around for a long time, and we just kind of modernized it, right? So think about yourself as you do these like ledgers or spreadsheets. In the chat, what do you think you would use like a spreadsheet for? Or if you do one already, how do you use it already? Let's put that in the chat and see what people would want to use it for. Okay, family contact log, checklists. Okay. Student did attendance. Mm-hmm. Oh, the admin candidates too, yep. Good. I'm seeing this like grades and so on. I use Excel when I would taught 4th grade, and I would do my lesson plans in Excel. So every week I put it on like every day was a different column. And then every hour of the day was a row, and it kind of worked on it. And then if I was running out of time, I would just shift it over on Excel into the next column or the next week in the next tab and so on. So that's one way to do it. Record keeping, databases, personal department. Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you'll notice like there's a lot of different ways that you can use Excel. A lot of it is just doing a basic database and so on. So that is kind of like how I use it. So what we're going to do, well, before I tell you what we're going to do today, but what's nice about Google Sheets is like Excel. It's very collaborative, which means that I could be working on stuff and then I can share it with Jennifer or Andrea And then we can actually input data on the same sheet instead of emailing an Excel document back and forth to get the same information down. It's all in one spot, and it's like Excel. It's able to do what most people can do, but really, if I'm going to do some major stuff, I would rather use an Excel spreadsheet myself. But for what I do, and I do a lot of things in spreadsheets, I use spreadsheets with Google. What's nice about it is that I could be in the office and sign on and do it, and then go home and sign on and do it, which you can do in Teams or not Teams, Office 365 and those kind of items with Excel too. But this is the way we kind of gravitated to. So that's how that works. So this session, what we're going to do, I have different examples, real life examples of what I use. I have 4 different examples that I'm going to show you and kind of talk through and see how it works. And then I do want to make sure that I show you how to, that you can collaborate with others and how to do that. That's just real quick. And then I'm going to go through some of the basics of the spreadsheets, just so I can show you like, oh, this is where you get the formulas and this is how you format and those kind of items like that. While I'm thinking of it, on SCED, this presentation is on there. When you click on the links, you won't be able to open it because they're copies of real live documents. So I'm going to keep those to myself. But the presentation is here. It's, it's just the basic stuff. I don't think you'll like it. But the other one is a file upload of a step-by-step I did for actually the activity is M&M Math. So if you teach, well, if you're in the classroom, you can actually use this with your students to teach Excel or Google Sheets or however you want to work it. Okay, are we doing well? Okay, oh, checkbook. Okay, so here's some of the examples here. So the examples are, the first one here is house expenses. So let me click on this one for you. This is what I use. This is like an example of a, like if you have rental property. Now this is the income is dummy, the rent income is dummy data, just to show you an example. But how this works, I used to use QuickBooks or Quicken, I think it was Quicken I used, and it was like way overbearing for what I needed. Really, I just needed to use Excel and put the category and what happened, have the income and then my expenses out, and then kind of work it out here at the end. So these are the cells that you're in. You'll notice that I have the date that it happens. It's just like you're running a checkbook, right? So here's the category that you pay, the vendor who's either paying or collecting from, and then the description of what it is. So I have like Jose is the gardener, so he comes on the 13th and the 27th. That's in the description, and then I pay him $50 the month to make it happen. So that's how I run it, just like a regular checkbook. So now what I do is on the top row, I can have a sum here. So it's sum of all the items that are on the list. So it tells me this is my income for the year. And I'm in 2021 now. So it's $14,000 supposedly through July 10th. And so it helps me to 2 items. Now, and when I pay the insurance, every month there's an insurance, like the homeowner's insurance, the rental insurance. I pay this amount. And there's the insurance on top. So you notice you have the sum of that column going across there, and then so forth, right? So what's nice about this is that when I'm done for the year, I'm gonna go to 2020. When I'm done for the year, it tells me that I made, supposedly, again, dummy data, but this much money and I spent this items. I can print this form out and I give it to my tax person, and that tax person can just organize all my deductibles quite easily, and it's easy for me to use. And on the far right, supposedly this, again, dummy data, I have a net here. So I have the formula here, which is the income, right? The rent I collect for that month, minus my expenses for that time period, and I get the net. And then the profit is pretty much a total, like an ongoing for the year. I'm sorry, the net is for like continuous since I started renting it out, and the profit is for the current year for now. So you'll notice that since it's 2,000, it's going to be going up. Hopefully it's going up as if you're renting, charging enough and keeping your expenses down. So this is how I run it. So you'll notice that the formulas are pretty basic, just like a regular ledger. You're just adding and subtracting. The trick is finding the cell to add and subtract from and to. So that's this example, that's how that works. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, so that's one way to use Excel. Another way that I use it, again, I'm all like the background piece of it. So here's the database that I use. So we talk about collecting databases in the, again, I wouldn't say old days, but when we had technology, someone would say, oh, I have someone who wants to join your class. Now we have the leading edge flex class that we do, the online class, it's a subscription service. Well, it's not just RCOE, it's statewide. It actually goes nationwide too. But we have a lot of partners. So in San Luis County or San Diego County or Contra Costa County, they have someone who wants to join. And I don't want them to email me because we have 20, like look at the pop up here. We have almost 2,500 people joining this. I don't want 2,500 emails just to start to say, I want this person to sign up, right? Because 2,500 becomes 10,000 real quick. So we set up a system to say, if you want this person to join, here's a spreadsheet that you're going to put the information in. And when you do this information, you get this, they fill out A through I. And then I take it and I do all the background information to get this person enrolled. And then I fill out the right-hand side and say, okay, this person started at this day and he expires on this day and so on and so forth. So that's how this column works. So how do I know when there's a change? Well, when this person, I go to tools and there's a notification rule here. I can say, notify me at my address if there are any changes made. And I want to know either right away, like immediately, or a daily digest. I do it right away because I want to know when that person enters that information so I can take care of it right away. Sometimes you want to set up like every morning when I come in, I'll take care of it. I don't need to do it right away because there's 500 emails from this thing that happens. I would do a daily digest. And you just click on save and you're done. So now when there's a change here, by someone, not me, but by someone else, I get an email that says there's been a change on here. Okay, so that's how this works. So that's just a database, and it helps me keep track of everything instead of writing it down on paper and going back and reading through and dealing with it. My whole thing is I'm trying to streamline the process to help me, to help everyone be organized. Okay. So that's the database. And I talked about the notification rules right there. So the survey information, one, deals with surveys. Now, I'm presenting it tomorrow as well. I think the 11:30 service, the session before lunch on Google Forms, the basics of Google Forms. Where we talk about how to do a form and it's the real basics on how to do the different questions. So we did this. In fact, this database is from a form that we sent out for this Google Camp conference, where you say, if you want to present, fill out your name, the title, the description, and more about it, and those kind of items like that. And so that way, I'm not getting 100 emails saying that they would like to be interested in all this information. It's done online. So there is a form. The form actually looks like this. I'm going to go to live form so you can see what it looks like. Oh, it's closed now, so I can't show you. I must have closed. So, well, you have to come to my other session to see it. So how this works, this information comes in and it's just a giant database of names. I'm just collecting data. So you'll notice the first name, you'll notice that it goes from B to D. There's a way to hide columns because I just want to, kind of limit some of the access to you. But you can actually highlight some of the, or hide some of the columns on there just to save space if you don't need it, those kind of items. So they introduced their proposed title session, their description, and so forth, so we can actually organize our pieces. And then we added our little sections on the bottom to say notes to help ourselves do that. So that's how this one works. Excuse me. So I'm not sure if the people in here are teachers or clerical staff, because we have a lot of clerical staff too, but there's all these different ways to run that process. Okay, so those are the 4 examples that I use here. So what I have now is an example, or we're going to show you like how to actually work one, and kind of go through the tools on how that works. So let's click on the practice piece here. Okay, so there is a, normally it looks like this, it's a blank item here. And again, I'm assuming, well, this is Google Sheets for beginners. So I'm kind of basing this on the audience that it's intended, which are beginners. So I'm kind of backing off somewhat. So if there's a chat question, put in the chat and we'll make sure like we touch base on it. But it's, and again, this is I think we have a half hour left to kind of go through items. Normally my classes that I teach face-to-face run about 3 hours to go through this particular spreadsheet and an autofilter, the 2 tabs below. Oh, one thing I did not show. Going back to here, so here's the one item here in the Flex, but I also have just the links in cells as well. So this is now like a collection of all the items that I need. So the FAR partners are the partners that I deal with. But then I have a lot of just documents that I want to use. So it becomes like a little document like, oh, I always send a welcome text to my participants. So I just click on that and that goes to, if I click on there, it opens up to the information that I use all the time. So I don't have to go back to Drive and find it. It's just a quick so that's how I work that. Okay, so here, these are all just called basic cells on how this works. And you click on one and you'll notice it's D8 and B, we can do B3 and so on and so forth. This is the cells that you do. Along above that is the top row here, which has all the different tools on here. If you make a mistake, like I tend to do, this is my favorite, is the undo button. So you can do that. Printing and the format painter, I'll get to later on maybe. And then all these different items here. The text font style, the size, bolding and different colored font and so on and so forth here. Okay, so we'll get to that. So to save some time, I have this entered in for you. And you can always go in, if you open this up, you can actually go up and go file, make a copy, because this is view only, I believe, to you. You can make a copy and play with it if you wanted to and save it for later, or you just kind of watch and follow along. It's up to you. So what I have here is, what I want to do is just show you how to do sums and averages, do some charts and those kind of items like that. Before we talk about that too, I did say that I wanted to talk about how to share, and there's a big giant share button on the top right-hand corner, and you click on share, and you'll notice that it's shared already with people. And I can say I can add people to groups. So if I want to add someone specific, so if I want to add Steve, well, Steve Cohn's already on there. Hot dog. I want to add Laurel Kirchhoff, who works in San Bernardino County. I can just click on her and say send, and she is now going to be invited to share the document. I'm not going to do that because she's like, why am I being invited to do that? And you can also say here, so this one is on the top to say this is how it's done. Anyone on the link can view, that's how you're viewing it now. and I can change it to say anyone who can view or be an editor or a commenter on the form itself. So that's how you do that. And you say done, and you are good to go. Just like if you're using Google Docs. I'm not sure how experienced you are with Google Docs. Okay, so here is the kind of information here. And you'll notice that these normally it's an M&M math. If you're in my classroom, we would be actually passing out M&Ms, and you'd be doing the sort and eating M&Ms while we're doing this. So maybe you need to buy M&Ms tonight on your extreme. So you have the names here. We have Dennis and Heidi and Steve and myself, which are people in my unit. And I noticed that this might quite happen to you all the time, where they come in with one name and you want to split it into two. So if you do that, you can go here and highlight that name. And then under data, you can say split text to columns. And you'll notice that I have a blank space to the right. And if I go to space, it actually separates the names for you automatically. That's going to come in handy later on when you are. This happens to me all the time when I want to be able to sort by last name, and I can't because it's all in one column. So here's your information. What we want to do here is do the sum to get the totals, and then we want to do an average in percent. So that's how this works. You'll notice we have some other tabs in the bottom, which we'll get to before the end of the period. So you'll notice we have 8 and 6 and 4 and 3 and 6 and 4. We want to add those together. So we're going to click on the cell underneath I, and where I5 is. And then on this row up here on the top, you have this sigma, this strings of an E. And you can click on that little tiny arrow to the right. And you have all these different choices of the formulas that you want. So it makes it quite easy. So I'm going to click on sum because I want to add it up. Click on sum, and you get this formula that pops up and this dot. All I'm going to do is click on the data that I want to add together. So not necessarily the word. I don't want to type in 8 and 6 and 4. I want the cell number itself. So I'm going to click on here and highlight, and you'll notice that it shows up. Now it's C5, which is C5. And that little colon means all the way through until you get through H5. So C5 through H5 is going to be added together. And I'm going to hit the enter key, and it opens up. Now you'll notice here, it's a nice new feature where it's called Autofill. I can click it says Control Enter to Autofill, and it does it for the rest of you automatically. So let me do Control Enter. And it adds up all those automatically for you. Now, this doesn't happen to me all the time. So sometimes you'll notice that I have this and I want to do the rest. I want to be able to do all the other 4 items below me. So you click on here, and you can see on the bottom right have that cell that there is a box, a little tiny blue box. If I hover over it, notice it's a cross, it's an arrow. Now it's a hand. Now if I move it over, it becomes a crosshair. So I call that a crosshair corner, just because I can't think of any other better name. I'm sure there's a name for it. I'm sure they call it something, but I call it the crosshair corner. So I would make it a crosshair, and I'm going to slide it down to where I want all the different rows to be added up together. So I'm going to click on there, and it does it automatically. And you'll notice that now it's sum of C5H5, the one underneath it automatically goes to C6H6 and C7H7 and so forth, and then C8, okay? So that's the crosshair corner. If you're not careful, if you use a hand and you're dragging it, you'll actually move that whole cell down, the data. So it might be nice if you want to be able to do that, but that's probably not your intent at the time. So this is how you do the sum. Now, we're going to do the average as well. The average works the same exact way. We're going to click on here for red. And we're going to use this arrow on the bottom here, on the right-hand side. And this time it says average. Click on average. And you're going to do that data that you want to do again. So 8 and 7 here. And when you hit the enter key, it gives you 7.0. And you can drag it all the way across to there. So that means in each bag of M&Ms, there's an average of 7 in the bag, 4.5 yellow, 5.5 green, and so forth. Excuse me. Now, you may or may not want the decimal points, or maybe you want more decimal points. So the way to do that is when you highlight this part, now on the right-hand side, you have the increase or decrease decimal places on the right. And I always get confused which way to go. There we go. So if they're M&Ms, you're not going to say there's 7.5, right? You can do 7 or 4. But you can, if you're dealing with certain percentages in your grade level, or your necessity, you can opt to do that as well. You just increase it to as you see fit. Okay, leave it in that section for now. So that is how you do. Those are the different formulas as well. Now you could actually get you can actually do things yourself as well. So the percent here, you pretty much have to write your own percentage. You have to write it out. So if you're going to do your own formula, you have to tell the spreadsheet that you're actually making a formula. You just can't go clicking like crazy. And so that special key is the equal sign. And this is in the step-by-step as well. So you can click on the equal sign. And then I don't want to type in, so to get the average, you have to go 7 divided by the number in the bag, which is 31.5, to get that percentage, right? So we just want to click on here. So equal, we click on that 7, which is C11, divided by, which is the slash, divided by this. Okay. And then we're going to hit enter. And that's already formatted to 22. It's formatted already. We went up to format up here. Actually, we clicked on this button here. That button makes it formats it as percent. So you don't have to multiply it by 100 and add the percent sign yourself. That format does it for you already. Okay, so you can just do that each time. Notice if I go across, it moves. What it's trying to do is move this one as well, so it doesn't work. There is a workaround, which I'm not going to go into in this session, but it's in the step-by-step. It has to do with a $sign. Well, if you just put the $sign, so let me show you this. So you'll notice, oops, you'll notice it goes D11 divided by J11. Well, J11 is over here. So that's not good. If I put a $sign in front of the I, that's a lock. That's a lock. So now when I slide it over one, it does C11 divided by I11. Am I right? Yes. It's still not right. It's wrong. It should be, let me do that one more time. Oh, I know. See, there, D11. Okay, gotcha. Just one more time. I had to fix myself. Excuse me. I was right. So the $sign in front of the I, which locks it. So now when I drag it across, it works because now this is D11 divided by I11. This is E11, but still divided by I11. So that $sign locks that into place. Again, this is in the step-by-step procedure. So that's how you get the formulas. So this is all based on the formulas, or you can write your own, which is in the step-by-step. So you have your information down here, but you don't know what it's about. You need a title here. I put it in the corner, but you can actually make it larger as well. So if you highlight the cells that you want to put that title, so I'm going to use that whole entire top 3 rows across the top. And then there's a place up here. It looks like a box with arrows pointing in. and it has that merge and center. So I'm going to merge all. Okay, so it merges all, and so it makes one giant box for you. Okay, and then you can go in here and you can type in here, you can type whatever information is, right? Okay. You type it in there. Okay, and in there too, you can add your colors, you can add your fill color. Okay, all those kind of different items like that. And then if you want to make a chart, the chart is actually, they've come a long way and made this much more simplistic for us to use. So we want to be able to show the different colors on here, or the percentages. Let's use the percentage on there. So I'm going to highlight red. Well, let's do the top one first because it's more straightforward. I'm going to do the top row. So red to blue. You'll notice that I put the colors right above it because that helps make the chart. So there's some like pre-planning that you have to do before it. So you do this item, and then up in the top, there is the insert chart. Okay, if you want a shortcut, it's actually right here too, where it says the chart. So insert chart. And it pops up here to make your chart. You'll notice they're all blue. So if you want to make it different colors, like there is actually colors for M&Ms. So I can actually click on red. I double click, it has the data point. I can do the fill color of red. And I click on yellow and do the fill color on yellow. And fill color in green, so you can make it fancy in that instance. Okay, so you can do that. I'm going to move that to the side. You can also, by the way, once you make your chart, you can copy the chart. I swear, you can copy the chart. You can copy the chart and paste it into Google presentation, any other kind of present that goes with it. So that's one nice thing about having the charts available for you as well. For the percentage, you can do the same thing. You can go in there, insert a chart. But this time I don't want here on the right-hand side, this is a column chart. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna make it a pie chart because it's a percentage and it does this. Now the colors are wrong. You gotta be aware of that. So you wanna make sure that you change the color to match the color if you are dealing with colors like I am. So I'm gonna change the right, to make it the right colors real quick. This must be orange. Oops. And quickly, I guess that is blue, isn't it? Kind of aqua. There you go. So there's your chart that you can make. And on the right-hand side, you have all these different, oops, ways to set up. Sometimes you get the information where the information is on the wrong, so you can go from row to column. That's usually the most common mistake that people make. And the data range, usually, sometimes you have the data range wrong, especially if I'm adding more rows, like the H13 becomes H16, but it doesn't get changed, and you need to go in there and make those changes. And you can customize the items with your legends. You can make the legends different, or the titles. You can actually make some other items like that. So that's where you can make all your changes with the charts. Okay, so okay, I hope I'm not going too fast or not. I'm kind of just kind of going through. Oops, I'm looking up here. There we go. Okay, so that's how you make your charts. So that's that action as well. I'm going to pause for a second. I have glass of water if you have a question in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the next tab. Okay, so this one deals just with information. Sometimes you're collecting data and you want to be able to show, for example, I use an example like you have to have volunteer hours for people to qualify. You know, it's their volunteer hours for parents, right? So you want to keep track of who's doing what, or this is a student, whatever it is. I have names and just data I just threw in there. So you want to be able to sort. Like, for example, you're like, oh, who scored the most? Who's the highest volunteer hours for the month of January, and so on and so forth. So how this works is you can have these names. I'm going to click on here on their name and highlight that top row. And there's a button here. It looks like a funnel, okay, or a filter. If you click on the right, it kind of adds new filters, which kind of throws me off. I have trouble. So as just like a little tip for you, don't click the arrow. Just click on that big giant funnel. And what that does is that it adds these little like triangles on. So by the way, you can move them with the little arrow. You can move. Sometimes they're too small for you here like this. And you see you have to go through and do it. However, if you highlight the entire letters A through G and then double click, they all get adjusted automatically to the widest text of that column. So they could make it very wide, or you can highlight them all and then make the adjustment, and it should move them all the same kind of process. But there you go, that's an extra. Okay, so now we have this item here. Now you can filter out information, or you can sort. For example, Beth, Amy, Darcy, Erica, they're not in alphabetical order and you want them to be. You can click on the arrow there and sort from A to Z. Bingo. And all the data that goes with it. So if you do this, if you just sorted that one column, if you didn't do that filter and you sorted that column A would be sorted and all the other information would not be, and that would not be good at all. So you're like, okay, so who's the highest scorer in November? You can go to November and sort from Z to A, and you can see that, oh, Frank is the highest person in that month. And it's true, look down the column there. Frank, yep, Frank scored the most. Okay, how about in, or December, right? So these are all based on that. So actually, Frank did pretty well all the way through, didn't he? So here's September. You can start from A through Z. Okay, and it's going from Beth to Frank, and then all the other information. You'll notice Frank's information went down to the bottom as well. So this causes a problem, though, if you're trying to do other information with it. I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to highlight that information, and I'm going to unclick that box. Let's say I want to get the average for everybody. So I'm going to type in average. And remember how we did average from the previous tab? We went up to the top there to functions. We did the average. And we're going to highlight from Frank to there and hit the OK, right? 22.5 and drag across. That's the autofill. Remember the autofill in the bottom right-hand corner, crosshair corner, drag across, and we do that. Now, it's a funny looking look, right? It's not, they don't match anymore. So I'm going to use this format painter, which is probably one of my most often used tools is this format painter. So I can click on that box that I want it to be formatted as, click that little paintbrush. And then if I click on the area below, it does it, right? It makes it a change. I can also do that just do the same thing. I can just click on that box, format painter, click and hold and drag across. And when I let go, they all follow the same process. So that's how that works. So that's the average. Now, there's a problem now. If I were to do the same exact kind of format, filter rather, and I filter from A to Z, notice it's 22.5. Okay, now it throws it off. Now it's like, oh, it's all confused. So you can't do that same kind of sorting like that, right? So I'm going to do my favorite. My favorite is the undo button. Okay, and I'm going to turn off that filter. If you do want to sort now, you got to be more careful with this information. I need to highlight the data that I want to sort only. So I'm going to highlight Beth to Frank and across to that. And now I'm going to go to data. And see, it says sort range, because I'm not doing the whole sheet by column A. I don't want to sort the name. I want to sort the data itself. So sort the range by what? By, I could do, if I do A, it's this area here, right? So I'm going to do A. So it's going to sort it by name. So it changes this information, Amy Beth, but all the data that is going with that particular items that are in blue. But it leaves the average alone and everything else, right? So it only sorts that information. So you got to be careful with that, but it does work that way. And I can do the same thing for any other kind of item like that. Right, so that's how you sort. Okay, question was, what did you do to resize the columns to the widest width? Okay, so you can highlight, see where the A is across. I'm going to click on A with my hand. Notice it becomes a hand. Click on that. Oops, I can't do a hand. Excuse me. With the cursor, I highlight that area there. And when you highlight that, in between each column is a line. You see the line between H and I? It becomes a line with two arrows. The technical term for that is line with two arrows. And you just have to click and drag. You can go really big, or you can go really small. Okay, but see how tight that is? But if they're all highlighted, if you just double click on it, just double click, go click, click, go click, click, and it widens it to the highest. So here it goes to Frank. So if Amy, if Beth's name is Betherissimo, okay, if I double click on that line, it goes out to that name. Okay, so it just double clicks it. So it's very nice. It's a quick way to do it, because especially I deal with data that's, again, 2,400 names. I don't know, right? I can't see that far. So I'm just going to double click it and let the work do it. Oh, by the way, so sometimes your cells, let me change this to February is a great month, to be here. Okay, so anyway, so see how long that is? It's just too long. So there's a button here on the top. It's called text wrapping. So if I click on that text wrapping, you have three choices. One, it overflows. Notice it flows into the other cells and gets in the way, and it gets cut off. This one's called the wrap. So if I click on wrap, it makes it all the text here. I can still go wider, so it's not so overbearing. So what I tend to do is make it a happy medium between being too wide and too tall, right? So that's how it works. And like that text is gigantic too, right? So holy moly. So I'm gonna highlight that. And instead of having the Verdana of 16, I can go down to 12 and make it smaller, right? Just like a Word document and so on. If you're presenting like I am, I usually go for a larger 16 font, but if I'm working on it normally, I'm 10 or 12. Actually, my eye is probably more like 12. But you can actually take this piece here. There's a zoom. So one more thing, and I got 7 minutes to figure this out, to tell you about it. But if you go large, like 16 font, and you hit print, you're going to get 16-point font on your page, which is probably gigantic. So I would tend to go more for like, I would probably, if I want to adjust everything to one size, there's the rows that say A, or the column names that say A, B, C, and then the rows 1, 2, 3. There's a little, the leftover square, I call it the sofa corner, right? That's where usually the dog sits, because no one can fit back there with their feet. So you click on there and it highlights the entire, like everything, the entire sheet. And then I can go in here and change this, and it changes the entire sheet to that font that you chose. So that makes it nice. And then you change it. Now, so when you print, now it's going to be a 12 font, but I would go from 100%, I would change it to 125. So now I can read it comfortably without changing the print properties of how that works. Okay, what is the new slicer tool? Okay, great question. So let's go back. I'm gonna get rid of the, let's go back to the slicer tool. So the slicer tool is actually this part of it here. Let's say you're working with a parent conferences coming along, and you say, you know what? Cheryl's parents are coming in, they want to talk about Cheryl, and I don't want to like show what Darcy's doing and Erica's doing. It's like, I just want to show what Darcy is without using the ruler and hiding all that information from a printout. I can use the slicer and say, I only want to select certain people. So I'm going to clear everybody's name off and just choose Cheryl and click on OK. And now Cheryl's information only shows. It slices Cheryl and everybody else gets left like hidden back. And you'll notice it goes from 1 to 4 to 9 to 10. So they're all just like a one small slice. Let's say you're talking to the parents and you want to say, okay, here's Cheryl. And we click on that arrow again. But I also want to compare Cheryl to the average of the class. So now I can talk to the parents and say, this is how Cheryl is doing with everyone else, right? And I can actually go here and say, here's a chart. I have to go here and change, talk about that, right? We talked about which rows? Nope, that's not right. I'm gonna go to here and say, I want a line chart. There you go. So here's the chart, here's Cheryl, and then here's the average of that class. And then when the next person comes in, let's see if I can change it. What happens when I choose, instead of I choose Amy, will it change on me? I lost someone. I'm losing one or the other. Let's see what I can do. You know, it works fine until it doesn't work fine. I'm not getting that on there. Well, anyway, so that is the chart major. I'm going to delete that. So what's nice is that now you can change it for each person and kind of delete it or like hide everybody else. And then when you want everybody back, you say, I want to select all. And that brings everybody back up to the front. Okay. So what's nice about the slicer also, you can filter by condition. You can do greater than or less than, all those kind of items. Not sure. There you go. Okay, so we have 3 minutes left. So anyway, so I hope that if you have any last questions in the text, that you go. Don't forget that there is every session has a review. All it is a happy face, medium face, and a sad face, and comments for feedback for everyone. So make sure you do that as well. Otherwise, we're gonna kind of have a minute of silence here to enjoy the morning. Any other questions here? Now's your time. Oh, so the recordings. So here's how this works. We record every session, and then we download them and we do the closed captioning on them, and then we post them up. So it does take some time. It might take honestly, it might take a month to get them up. We were hoping for a faster turnaround to get the recordings. We will actually run our own separate website for the items, just like we saw. I'm not sure if you had access to the 2020 Google Camp resources, but we have all our videos from last year that were recorded up on that page. So we'll run it again. And then we email everyone to say, here's the web page to watch all the videos. Okay. Anyway, so thank you very much for attending, and I hope you have a great day too. Don't forget to wear your tropical shirt tomorrow, and hopefully you can win a book by sharing that out on a tweet. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I can stick around if you have some side questions. You can unmute and ask, or you can also email me, and I'll help you privately on another day as well.
Somebody did ask in the chat, like, a really great question that I've struggled with Sheets with.
Okay.
It had to do with when you're trying to copy like a list of numbers or a date, it automatically like starts advancing them as you
Yes.
pull them down.
Right. Good
I
point.
have not figured out how to turn that off.
Yeah, it was one of the problems. So she's saying like, here's your one, right? And if you just hide, if you go down, it doesn't change. But if you do 7, 12, 20, 21, well, 2021, and you hide down, it does that. And that's what I do. I face this every day when I'm doing that, the Flex database. So my solve for that really is I do a copy. I do Control-C on it, and then I can go down here, and if I can do a Control-V to paste, then it does it. That's the way I work it.
Oh, fantastic.
It wants to automatically, and it drives me crazy. On the back side, by the way, if you do want to do it, you have to have at least 2 on there.
And I also didn't know that you could just select a group of cells and it would repeat pasting. I thought you had to like only do one at a time, or like do a chunk and do the same amount of chunks. So that is a super helpful.
Yeah, so like here to copy, you mean those 3? Oh yeah, if you highlighted those, for example, here you go, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, you're talking about copy or? What
no, when you just copied the information of the date and then you selected all those cells and then paste. I thought you had to do like paste it into each individual cell. So that's a super helpful tip that you.
There you go. Good. Good. Very good. Yeah, there's all these little tiny tricks like there's like, oh, you know, it's like, what does advanced mean? Because once you learn it, it's like, oh, that's not advanced, right? It says you just don't know it's there yet. So it's just nice to get those little tips and tricks going on. Anyone else having something?
There are some questions in the
chat.
Yeah. Do you want me to read them out to you? That might be
sure. If you got it, that'd be great.
Somebody asks, is there a way to repeat a response in entire column? Maybe that's kind of the same.
Yeah, actually what he just said answered that question. Thank you.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Roster checklist made easy.
Right.
Yeah, I do a lot of checklists. Actually, there might be.
And then somebody's asking, and I saw her ask earlier too, how do you insert a checklist? And she asked it back when we were doing pie or charts. So maybe, I don't really know.
I don't know. So a checklist, there is actually a checklist here. Insert, there's a checklist, insert, where to go? Insert checkbox. So it does that. So it's like you're dealing with Amy. Let me do all those. I just highlight and go insert checkbox. So now like you're dealing with Amy, you finally take care of Amy, you can check the box. Because you know you're done. Betharissimo, I guess I should change that name back. So that's one nice thing about doing a checklist. In fact, I don't use that enough now that I did it. To say there's a lot of things that I did for Google Camp that would have been great just to have a checkbox. And so click, done.
Right. And then there was one question about how do you insert a fill series of numbers?
So let's go to fill series of numbers. I don't, in what instance would that work, do you think?
Yeah, that was a ways back, so. I don't know if these people are still here too, Laura.
Yeah, fill series. I don't know what she means by that, fill series of numbers. So I know we did on the M&M math, we did the fill, right? So that was this, when you just kind of, let me get rid of that part, but you just had this here and you just filled it down. That's the fill part of it, right? It's the crosshair corner.
You answered that for her already also.
Earlier. Okay,
excellent. Oh, okay.
She just typed in the chat.
Oh.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you know,
I was just trying to scroll back because I know sometimes like once everybody says thank you, then the questions go.
I lost, yeah. And as a presenter, I'm so focused on my screen, you know, that's like, okay, it's hard to keep, especially in this kind of situation. I'm not talking, I'm showing. So
All
Thanks
right,
for helping me like get the questions answered too.
absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your information.
Great, fantastic. Glad you're here.
Did you say there was a step-by-step available for
Yes, the
these?
step-by-step is actually in SCAD. If you go to my session, Google Sheets for beginners, whatever the time it is, so 1 o'clock today, is actually a download called M&M Map.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep, it's a step-by-step.
I have a question. I tried to copy paste some student data from SAYS, from like the special education website. And then when I pasted it in Google Sheets, it was like all like different formatting. So it kind of took me a while to like reformat it. And I had to like unmerge all the columns because there was like maybe just, it was A through I once I finally shrank it down. But there was a lot of like columns that weren't really being used, like AI, AB, AV, all these columns in between. So I was just wondering if there was a faster way to like make everything uniform.
I don't think so, because you're copying from all their formatting from that one site into another one, and they're like fighting with each other. So if you want, you can email me at mleffen@rcoe.us. You're at the RCOE too, right?
Yes.
So you just mleffen, Mike Leffen. So, and I can work with you in one-to-one.
Okay.
And we can do a screen share, and like I can help you through it if you're willing to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
In a couple of weeks, but yeah, because that's all different. And I've kind of faced that same thing, but I'm still going, it's still faster than typing all day.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other option might be, instead of copying everything at the same time, you copy it column by column instead of everything.
I mean, I did turn it into an Excel sheet.
Did you download it as an Excel sheet?
Well, no, it doesn't allow you to download as an Excel. It just gives you the list, and then it lets you reformat it into an Excel sheet, which is what I did. Okay. And then from the Excel, I copy pasted into the Google Sheets because I like to share it, live.
Okay.
And, that's when it just got all like.
Let me tell you one thing. Let me give you one idea here. Let me you can still see my item, right? So yes. You can upload an Excel sheet and have it be converted into Google a Google Sheet automatically.
Oh, okay.
Without having to copy and paste. So that might give you a lot of savings right here. Let me show you how that works. Okay.
Thank
so
you.
I'm on Drive, and you got that settings wheel. You aware of that? It's here.
Yes.
So you got the settings wheel, and you go to settings. And now where it says convert uploads, it's right here. So if you say convert uploaded files to Google Docs editor format, when they say Google Docs editor, that really means like Google Sheets editor. It's the Google editor format. In other words, it changes your Word document into a Google document, or your Excel document into the Sheets document. It does that for you automatically. So all I do is check that box first, and then you take your document, like it needs to have any kind of document here. So here's this, oops, I took it off the format. Can you see that file? So I'm going to take this document, and I just drag it on here, and it just copies in there. And while it's uploading, it will change it into your Google Sheets document.
Oh, wow.
And that might help you in the whole process. Like now you don't have to do all that formatting because it's done for you.
That's awesome.
I hope.
That's gonna save me so much time.
Yeah, right. I hope. Yeah.
Does it transfer photos also, or just the data?
So, good question. I think it takes you have photos in there too. I would imagine it would take the photo.
Yeah,
it's not a perfect change, when you go from PowerPoint to like, what's the Apple version? Offhand, I can't think of the Apple version of it. There's always a fight between Microsoft PowerPoint and the Apple version of PowerPoint. So
Yeah, I've had to like copy and paste and do that with the photos and.
sometimes, yeah, or it's just a wonky, particular,
Yeah.
sorry, wonky. But yeah, it's always like an odd, sometimes they just don't want to work together. So.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
still
I get
good.
frustrated and then go back to Excel.
Right. Yeah. I use Excel. I taught Excel for a lot of years too. And then I just went to Sheets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get
Well,
you.
thank you. I learned a few more tips, so that's
Excellent.
that was
Yeah,
very
that's great.
helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, everyone. So we have a few left on here. I'm going to stop recording and stop sharing and sign off here. So have a great second day.